Hello and welcome back to our other IPC podcast episode. I'm so excited and I'm so glad you're back. We are here today with Brother John and Brother Eric. How are you guys doing?
Wonderful.
We're doing great.
Good.
Glad to be here.
This podcast is dedicated to Sister Pam Butler. We wish you a happy birthday and we love and we miss you.
Happy birthday, Sister Butler. We love you.
So I'm so excited for this podcast episode. I really am, because we're talking about AEM, which means Apostolic Entertainment Ministry. Did I get that right?
Mm-hmm. Yep.
Cool.
That's exactly right.
But before we dive in, we're going to play a little tiny game. It's very short, and it's called This or That. The object of the game is to choose in between two things that I give you, and which is better. I don't know. You guys ready?
Ready.
Cool. Okay. This or that. So Netflix or YouTube?
For me, it's YouTube.
It's been YouTube for me.
Yeah. Just learning stuff. Mm-hmm. Just going down rabbit holes.
Rabbit holes?
Yeah.
Do you go into deep rabbit holes? like camera work?
Sometimes camera technology. Sometimes it's just what I'm into at the time, like cars or knives or pocket knives, that is.
And yourself?
It's been cars for me lately.
Cars.
And music.
Nice.
Yeah, and disasters.
Natural
Natural disasters. Like biggest waves ever caught on camera. That's intriguing to me.
That's funny.
As we said, rabbit holes.
Rabbit holes. Phone call or texting?
For me, it's texting.
I used to be phone call. Texting is easier because you can just press K, like we talked to.
Right.
About
it is
K.
a lot easier because you can just send one letter.
Uh-huh.
I agree. Okay. Android or iOS?
iOS, for sure.
Mm-hmm.
iOS? Okay. We're all Apostolic.
Apostolic, baby.
Mac or Windows?
Mac. At work, I have to use Windows, but for church, I use Mac.
Mac for me.
Mac.
GarageBand.
And the last one is audiobook or podcast?
I do audiobook all the time.
Really?
Well, Audible. The Audible app.
Okay, what book are you into right now?
A book called The Cost of Discipleship.
Ooh, that sounds deep.
Yeah, it's pretty awesome. It's actually, I have a wide variety of books I listen to, from fiction to nonfiction. But
word, love that.
Standard paper books.
Paper books.
Right now I'm reading this thing called the Bible.
Oh.
It's pretty awesome. Number one bestseller for, 6,000 years.
It's been many years.
And counting.
Yes, and counting.
Or
Still
2,000
going.
years. However many.
I love that. Okay. That was great, guys. Love it. Now going into AEM, as again, Apostolic Entertainment Ministry, we do this thing called Virtual Hell. And it comes every October. Well, now every other year, I'm assuming. What is that, and when did that start?
I'll let Eric take that
Well,
one.
I believe it was 95, right?
Yep.
It was the vision of our pastor, who is now our bishop at the time. And it was, I guess, just to bring in the community. And then he employed Brother John here and our other brother, Charles. And they were super excited about it. And I was a new convert. I had just come into the church, and they knew that I worked in the movie industry and I did sets and build sets. And they approached me, and I was all in, and was my primary ministry for the last 20 years or so. And then we moved on to other things. But that's how it started. And it started off where it was like a walkthrough.
Yeah.
Like Knott's Berry Farm kind of thing,
Yeah.
but you scare the Jesus into them is kind of the concept, and that's
scare the hell out of them and the Jesus into them.
In there.
Yeah, exactly. So, scary throughout most of it, and then at the very end, the people were so freaked out that they
we tried not
Jesus.
to be scary just to be scary. We wanted there to be a story, like this is your life, and if you go the drug route or the murder route or whatever, because people do have issues in their lives, and sins that leads to deeper sins, which leads to deeper sins, which ultimately leads to death. And so we wanted to portray that road to hell type of thing, but that Jesus is the answer, of course.
Do you remember the first play, like what the title was and what it was about?
It was just Virtual Hell.
Yeah, I don't.
Really?
Yeah.
I don't think it even had a title.
No
I mean,
title?
just
It was
Virtual
Hell, the stage play.
The stage.
No. Are we talking about the stage play, or are we talking about the walkthrough?
The very first walkthrough, I think, was just Virtual Hell.
Yeah, and there was Virtual Hell 2.
And then 3.
And 3.
And then 3.
And all 3 of those were walkthroughs. And they
Really?
got bigger every year.
Yeah, it's crazy.
They took almost 2 months to build them
Solid.
out in the parking lot of the church.
So
and
when you
weave
say
around.
walkthrough, you mean like a maze?
Yeah. Yeah,
No
just
way.
like it. Yeah, just like
That's
it.
so cool. And I missed it. Then again, I wasn't born yet. So that's really, really cool. This past one we just had was called In Your Head.
Mm-hmm.
It was more attacking on the mentality of...
It was like a psychological.
Yeah, like more
thriller.
psychological. Where did that come about? Why did we mostly attack the psychological aspect of it?
Give that to John.
I think every year we have a story committee. And it varies from year to year. Some people, are excited about Virtual Hell, and they come to me and say, "Hey, can I help with Virtual Hell?" And if I know they're sort of a creative story person or into movies or whatever, then I'll say, "Hey, come join our story group." And we start talking about it later than we should. We should start talking about it at the beginning of the year, but we usually start talking about it during the summer, midsummer. And we come up with a story. This year it was a psychological thriller. I think a lot of it deals with the times we're in, because usually when we come up with a story, shortly after Virtual Hell, a movie comes out that deals with something very similar. So I think we are, whatever story group we have at the time has a very good pulse, plus the Holy Ghost, sorry Jesus, plus God leads us by his Spirit to just get the right story at the right time. And this year, I think we were very influenced by something at our church called Free Indeed, which is delving deeply into what our motivations are, how we were raised as kids, what are the things that influence where we are today, and some of the hang-ups and some of the addictions, some of the things that we deal with today based on what we went through as a kid and older type of thing. Not to say that it's totally psychological, but I do think that influenced where we went to this year.
So I went back into YouTube, okay, and I looked at your YouTube channel, AEM, and I saw Get Caught, I believe it's what it's called, and it was just like a promo. What was that one about? Because I was looking at it and I saw little Rob, and then I saw like little Serena, and I saw like little Peter Mossy, and I was just like, what is going on? Everybody's just hitting each other with like pies and stuff and pranking. What happened? What is that?
Well, I kind of forgot a little about that one a bit, but I think it was sort of a blog or a podcast on the YouTube channel of kids that bring cameras and they push the envelope of getting in trouble. And I think they were anticipating getting caught and then getting that on camera. And so that's what the title came from, Get Caught. So they would go out and do stupid stuff, break people's pumpkins and stuff, and do it just to the point that the owner would come out of the house raging, and then they'd have to run and split and laugh, and they got a big kick out of that, and then they got it on camera, and then people would get to watch that.
And then so that was the premise, but the main story for that Virtual Hell was they go into a sarcophagus. It's like a tomb type of thing with a bunch of dead people. They break into it, and there's this legend around this person that owns the tomb, and they're just trying to freak each other out and video it for YouTube, that type of thing. So, And
That is
at that
so
time, I
creative.
think it was sort of hip.
By the way, John is our writer and director, so he's
Yes,
going to have
writer
more
and
a take
director.
on story, whereas I'm more of the art director builder.
Yeah.
And so then we collaborate and back and forth until we come up with something that is both, strong writing and then visually. Exciting.
Yeah.
And that's a process that takes a couple months at least.
Yeah, because we do like it to be realistic, as realistic as possible. We utilize Brother Eric's technology and techniques and his experience in Hollywood to bring it to our stage. So for Get Caught, he literally recreated a sarcophagus on our platform that looked legit like the
It was a
thing.
really cool set.
It was a cool set.
Most of we go for it, go big or go home, and they're usually pretty ambitious and never truly get done because there's such a vision for it. But I guess
our dream is bigger than what we can do a lot of times.
Always.
So when you hear like the synopsis of the whole story or of the whole play, I guess, do you have like just the image in your head of what you want the set to look like?
Well, the thing is we're closely knit in that. Yes, he does most of the writing, but he's so gracious. He just allows people to give input, and then he goes, "Oh, I like that," and he adds that to it. And I'm one of those. I'm a component of that. And my input is based on what we got sitting in our stock room, and how much it's going to cost and this and that. And so oftentimes we find just a general sort of idea, and then we start to fine tune it. And I say, hey, how about this? How about that? And he'll say yay or nay. And then it slowly starts to congeal. And then next thing you know, he's got a script, or the first couple pages of the script. But we all agree, and then it's like, then we split, where he continues to write, I take off and do shopping and buying and
start drawing
and creating things off-site in my yard, in my backyard, or at various like church secondary properties and whatnot that we have. So
I forgot we had a
so
property.
even though like I'm writing mainly the dialogue and how everything's fitting together, because there's different characters, there's their backstories, there's their motivations, there's deaths that are going to happen, and whatever is going to move the story forward. Obviously, one of the key element is Jesus saves the day and Satan loses. That's sorry for the spoiler warning. But also we want it to be scary because it's Halloween time. So we sort of have a checkbox, a list of things we have to check off to say, okay, make sure we hit these points. Sometimes it's super difficult, but somehow we manage. The Lord helps us to get a decent story together so we can do it. But he's right. A lot of times, a script isn't just two people talking. It's action. It's using the set. It's manipulating props. It's using guns. It's all this kind of stuff. So Eric has to have a lot of input as to the environment we use, which oftentimes drives a lot of the story. So
that's true. And then keep in mind what it is just we used to do the walkthrough, so now you have to compress all those into a 45-minute stage play. It's basically the same thing, but just a different version compressed into a stage play.
Usually the walkthrough is maybe 15, 20 minutes at the most, from beginning to end, because you're constantly walking. Sometimes you stop and see a little vignette and then walk to the next set, see a vignette. That's how usually it worked.
Do you ever want to do a walkthrough again?
I don't.
It's like so much work. It's like 3 times the work, maybe more.
It is. And you spent what I used to do, which I can't do anymore, and I would take literally time off of work, a month. I'd take a month off of work, and then there was also pre-planning and building prior to that, and then you just start working here at the church every single day, putting up flats and painting, and then you'd get plenty of help. But then virtual hell's over with, and then there's nobody's around. Maybe you might want to omit this. That's probably not a very good thing to say. But
No,
it's
it was-
you know, you
those
have
were
the
early
dedicated
years.
few
Yeah.
are there, but then everybody else is like, you know, the fun is over, and so
Yeah.
now
Yeah.
it's like,
and
where's
and there's logistical issues with the walkthrough.
Mm-hmm.
You know, you're basically shutting down a campus like Bellflower campus,
Oh,
any
that's
of the
right.
extracurricular activities for a month more
Mhm.
sometimes. And we've got too much going on here. I mean, we've got
Every
so
day.
much,
Every
especially
day.
now.
Yeah.
especially now.
There's
It's
There's
untenable.
literally something every day. I'm not kidding. If you want to go see it and want to know what you want to do, ipchurch.org.
Yes, ivchurch.org. That's right.
Okay. Now, VH is not the only thing that we do with AEM. There's the April play. Then there's a youth one that's actually coming up, and that's in the making right now.
Yep.
What else is there? What is
The day after is a big one.
The day after is a huge one. Actually, I've been a part of that.
That's
actually,
right.
I have. What is the youth one?
So the youth one, Eric doesn't know anything
I don't even know about it.
So
You don't even know about it yet?
Surprise.
Surprise!
This is live.
It's been great, but I
This
got to
is
start
live.
planning.
This is live TV. No, Brother Lewis approached me like 3 years ago
Yeah.
saying, hey, look, I want to do a play. Brother John, you know how he is. He's just super excited. I'm like, cool, bro. That's awesome.
Great.
That's so cool. And so he's like, I have a vision for it. And, you know, it could be social media. It could be, you know, all these kids. And
You know, that's a really good impression of him.
so I'm like, cool, you know, but it never really worked out. We met a few times, and it's to get a brand new play together sometimes takes a lot of work. It's like getting the momentum going. So I did have a vision for creating a small group. We have small groups here at IPC to do creative writing. We do have a creative group. We have different groups that do different things, but I wanted a creative writers group. So a group that writes, actually loves to write fiction or creatively. And so we started that we started it in like September or October. We've been meeting every month since then. So they helped me, that creative writing group helped me with VH this year, In Your Head. They helped Sister Kat with stories and stuff for the children's Christmas musical. A lot of this isn't known, but and then in January I said, hey, for this creative writers group, why don't we take on this project of creating a youth play? And it's been so awesome. The last 2.5 months of talking about this youth play with this team has been really great. I feel like we have a core of a story centered around graduation, and the play, we're going to have it around graduation. We do want a minimal set, so we don't have to bug Eric too much. But yeah, we're super excited about it. It's going to center around this breakfast club group of teenagers, high school seniors that are sort of misfits. You would look at them or look at their life and you'd say that person wouldn't fit with this person, wouldn't fit with this person, wouldn't fit with that person, sort of like Breakfast Club. But somehow they get along together, have a good friendship, and then things happen, and it's going to be pretty exciting. I don't want to give away too much, but
No more. Do you have any other plans for AEM at all? Besides plays, like, do you guys want to do more things with the Apostolic Entertainment Ministry?
well, I think it's always been our vision and dream to do more movies, short films, that type of thing.
Pretty much from day one.
Yeah. That's why we, at any chance, we try to add videos and movies to the plays, the stage plays, just to sort of scratch that itch or whatever. But it would be great. It would be great to do some type of short film or film, if we had the right story, I guess.
another part of the reason why we would do films is because I guess in the set building portion of it, if you're doing community theater, whatever, you can fly sets, you can move. We never had that option with the tiny little stage. So to get you to say you're going to step off out of the cabin into the forest, then we would go up and then shoot a forest scene.
Right.
And so what that kind of did is it sort of got our juices flowing and getting into making more films and more videos and stuff. And you know, we were trying all this different stuff. Like we didn't know what we were doing. Granted, I come from the set building world. I don't come from the actual camera world of Hollywood. So I would just see what they do and just try to mimic that. And then everybody would pull together their resources from the things that they have been looking at. And then we would try to figure out how to actually film a movie. How do you do a zombie scene in the middle of the night in downtown Bellflower? I don't know. You have a couple of these rogue lights, or you use the lights off of your vehicle, and hopefully there's enough lighting on the storefronts and things like that. Like those are the issues that we would be confronted with, and fortunately they usually came out just all right. I mean, a professional would look at that and go, oh, you know, that's horrible. But you know, for our intents and purposes, it was more fun than really anything for us. And then the finished product was a ministry, you know, and hopefully somebody's being touched by God when it's all said and done.
Yeah,
the production.
I think when you put it all together, the video and the live action play, as long as you know you can start the videos on time and stuff like that. We have had problems with that in the past, but if you can get things timed to just right, I think. It's proven out that it can be very successful to interweave live stage and video. So,
which is something that we've been doing for a long time.
Yes.
And kind of, you know, a little godly pride about it. When it works. When it works, it works great. When it doesn't, it fails miserably.
So our first real short film was VH24, The House. So
that's true.
That was not on any stage. It was because of COVID. It was
because of the panoramic.
Yes. It was 100% because of COVID. We said, hey, we don't want to have, because usually, you know, we pack out the house, and back in 2020, you know, that just wasn't a good thing, or they said it wasn't a good thing. So we said, okay, let's fulfill the dream, you know, of doing a full 100% video.
It was great.
Yeah,
I loved it.
I enjoyed it. It was stressful, super stressful. The editing, Brother Michael, Michael, and Ricky spent.
You guys did an all-nighter. Yeah, right. I remember that.
We were so dead on Sunday because our deadline was Sunday, and we were editing from Saturday. We shot Saturday. And then we were editing through the night, through Sunday, until opening night, Sunday night. It was just the craziest thing ever.
Okay, for those who are watching or for those who are listening, I was only there for like 4 hours after we were done filming, because I was doing a vlog, which still has to come out soon because I still have it.
Oh my goodness.
But they stayed there all night, came back in the morning, and they just looked gone. Yeah. They weren't even there. They were just like, my body is still editing, but my soul is in bed. No, but it came out great. You guys should really, I don't know if you want to watch it. Yeah, The House. Let's see. Do you guys have any questions for me at all?
Well, there was what was the one that was prior to The House? That was the escape room, or
the chamber.
The chamber, and you were a main player in the chamber.
I was,
That's right. You are a VH veteran.
Now it's going to come. Now the questions are going to come from this side of the room to you. What was it like being an actress in one of, you know, our productions?
Honestly, it was fun. I enjoyed the process from beginning to end, and watching everything slowly come together, even like with a young people group, knowing that this is going to reach many more. And it was like it was like I was in the mindset of it's literally not about me. That it was this, what I'm saying and what comes out of my mouth and what I've learned from this play will reach many more. So it was difficult at times because I was always tired, but the process was pretty cool. Like from building to deconstructing to learning the lines to trying to learn chemistry with the other person, the other actors. It was
Mikey's
pretty cool.
hard to get chemistry with.
He's behind the cameras right now.
Just kidding, Michael. You were awesome that year.
Oh yeah, he was in the chamber, huh?
He was the main guy.
Yeah, he was playing my boyfriend. Yeah.
Awkward. No.
Awkward. Sorry, Scylla.
Sorry, Rob.
Sorry, Robert. But it was for Jesus, so
Amen.
it's okay. No, but the chamber was pretty cool. I was also in other ones too. Now that I'm thinking about it.
Well, you're in
It was the day after.
the day after Virtual Hell edition.
Yeah.
There you
Yeah,
go.
I played Tia Fukunaga. No, that was for the
That
chamber.
was for the chamber.
Just kidding. I don't know.
Yeah,
what
you
I
were a
played.
main character in the day after one too.
Yeah.
But my question for you is, so as a writer director, when we come up with a story and I start writing, I can see it like visually. Plus working with Eric closely, he's sort of casting the vision of what the set's going to be like. He's making drawings, so I could totally see these things in my mind. And then I know the story, I know what I'm writing, and I know the set, so I can see practically everything, like before it happens, like the finished product. When you start out and start seeing the script come to fruition, and then we're doing video work and stuff, do you have that same vision, or is it like when it finally finishes, you're like, whoa, that's totally different than I thought?
I first see the vision, and then like I see where you're coming from, and then when it all comes together, I was like, okay, that is actually more than I expected.
Okay.
So that's coming from like not only the actor's standpoint, but also from a person who sits in the audience and actually watches it.
Oh, okay.
Because I also do sound for you guys, so I just sit there, watch the whole thing, and I'm like, okay, this is great. More. Let's go.
That's awesome.
Yeah, it's really cool.
Now I can live in a moment, knowing you've gone before me. I know you walk beside me. I know you will keep me. Here's my offering. I pour it out and sing. Lord, I seek your face. There's nothing in the way.
All right. The next thing we're going to talk about is play AEM mishaps. Any memorable ones?
There's too many, so.
Oh no, not the big sigh.
When we did the walkthroughs, there was times where we would be up all night building, and then the weather would be threatening, and we'd have to bind together and pray, and it would start drizzling. I mean, we had so much stuff just out in the elements, and we would have to pray, and God would hold the rain, literally for us. That was always a big thing with the walkthroughs. It's like, because again, the elements were you're subject to the elements, and sometimes you'd show up the next day to just sort of tidy some things up, and stuff is blown over, and that was kind of heartbreaking because we worked so hard on it.
Yeah, that happened this last year too with when we were filming the camping scene, and we had to get it done that night. We did it in Michael's grandparents' backyard.
That's right.
And it said there was a chance of rain, but we were like, nah, Jesus, please.
Right.
And so it started drizzling. Oh, we can handle the drizzle, and it started coming down harder. So we said, all right, we got to stop, guys. This happened before, and God stopped the rain. So we prayed, and he stopped the rain, and we finished, and thank you, Jesus.
with locations in the elements, we so many times, almost every time, are flying by the seat of our pants. We don't usually we don't pull permits. Although there was one time. It's a long story. I don't know if I should go into it, but there are times. Well, okay, so I forget it was the Prince of the Desert. It was, what was the name of that one?
The Abomination.
The Abomination. And everything, we built an interior set. We were out in the desert. We were making all these videos and stuff, but the one thing we didn't have was a palace. So doing some research, there was a library on, I believe, Brand or Grand Avenue up in the Burbank Hills, in more like kind of Glendale. We just had to have that. Where
and it looked Middle Eastern.
It looked Middle Eastern, and you had to have a physical location to tie it all together. And this place was perfect. Well, at first, there was no getting into that. And so I went to the city and was trying to get a permit. They're saying, you have to have a police officer there. You've got to have this. You got to have that. And I literally, I don't know what, I had just Holy Ghost authority. And I said, I will be back and I'm going to get what I want. And I kept coming back at my lunchtime during work. I kept driving to the city council, I think it was, or the Chamber of Commerce. I forget what it was. And I'm talking to these people, and finally they granted it to me. They said, there will be staff on site there. You get 2 hours. You don't need a policeman because we're going to be inside. There's no traffic that needs to be stopped. And we went and we shot our segment that we needed so desperately to tie this thing together. Even brought some props and some plants and some things, and did our thing in front of this palace-looking thing that helped tie it all together. And God made it happen.
Wow.
Yeah.
I thought you were going to bring up the time where we went to Red Rock for Eden. We had to do where this military group goes out and hunts this beast, which is a satanic representation of the devil or whatever. And so we brought all of this military garb, all of these guns, these airsoft guns that look legit, like AR-15, just to the max. And so we're like, we probably should let the ranger know, because we may get it. We may be on like the news or something. So we went to them, and Eric, in his Holy Ghost smooth talking way, this time it wasn't boldness. It was like, hey, this is what we're doing.
We've been here before.
So yeah,
I promise.
we're church. We're doing this little play, this little thing. So what's funny is, though, we start unpacking the trucks, putting the guns out on the tables, and it looked like we're going to war, literally. And so the ranger stops by to check it out. We're like, oh God, please, Lord. But they were totally cool with it, unbelievably.
They just wanted somebody stationed out by the road, so if anybody comes into that area, they're warned that this is just a little, just a little fly-by-night production doing their thing. And so we worked that one out too.
Now I know VH has traveled. We've done 2-3 different places. Last one was 2014. Any mishaps there? Like cool?
So
funny?
the day after, we've taken the day after on the road to different churches. We've done it for a youth convention twice. So the first time we did it for youth convention was when the SoCal district and the Western district were one district. And so youth convention was the biggest conference in our district. It covered all of California, all of Nevada. So there were between 2,000 and 3,000 people at this youth convention. So they asked us to do the day after. It went well, was awesome. But when we got to the convention center we rented a 24-foot U-Haul truck, like their biggest one, I think. And we loaded all of our stuff in there, traveled to Bakersfield. Brother Steve, one of our chaperones, backed up the truck to the loading dock door. And we were just waiting there for the convention people to come open the door. And so as me and a bunch of young people were hanging out in the back area of the truck, and it was at a slight angle. And so we rolled up the door for the truck. All of people were inside just sitting. We were just laughing, talking. But I was standing behind the truck while the young people were in the truck. And then when Brother Steve got out, he accidentally hit the brake and it started rolling back. And so I didn't know what to do. It was just coming right at me. So I jumped, but it still pinned my leg against the steel roll-up door.
Oh my
If
gosh.
it was a concrete, my leg would have been
gone.
cut in half, or crushed or whatever. But because it was a steel roll-up door, it crushed the door a little bit, and it crushed my leg and with it, but there was some give there. So,
Brother
yeah,
John.
I know. It was so scary.
But by the grace of God.
So Brother Steve pulled the truck up. Jared brought me up to the hotel room. There was already blood in my shoe. But after
I'm sorry. Wait, you can't just bypass that. There was blood in your shoe.
Well, so after they moved the truck up, I fell to the ground. I don't know what I thought. I thought I wouldn't be able to walk. So I stood up. I'm like, guys, I can walk. And blood's like pouring in my shoe. So they're like, you're not okay. So Jared.
You said that so casually. Like, yeah, there was blood in my shoe. But
So Jared picked me up, took me to the room. We said, yeah, this is pretty bad. It was basically a really, really bad bruise in a few different areas. Nothing major.
You didn't have to have stitches?
I think I had to have a few stitches, but that's it.
But it wasn't that bad. Ooh, thank you, Jesus.
Yeah, I was like in a wheelchair behind the set, like directing people in the wheelchair.
He's like, yeah, don't do that. Right. Just rolling around everywhere.
But
you're like,
but it was awesome. God moved so powerfully.
Wow.
It was worth my leg.
Now, what is this story? Worth your leg, huh? Now, what is this story I hear about a fire extinguisher?
Well,
Brother Eric.
I was the fire extinguisher. We were doing Eden, and we have this very talented young man, Josh. What was Josh's last name?
I'll say.
Yeah, oh, yes. And he would create these insane monsters, like just right out of Hollywood, But he didn't have the Hollywood budget, so he's using stuff from Home Depot and glues and paints and things that would in turn foams and stuff. But you wouldn't know the difference. You see the stuff and you're just like, oh my goodness, what is he? How did he do this? So he creates this huge monster that falls into this pit.
That required stilts.
Yeah.
It required these
I think they were drywall stilts.
Yeah,
so they got him like 30 inches off the ground top of his height that he ordered. Right. And then stilts for arms. So it was like this very, this large, just lumbering, big, black, gnarly thing that came from the pit of hell, And so somehow the players, I guess they make it fall into a pit. And then there's always pyrotechnics that we have on the set, which is, everything's real crazy with this stuff. And so he's in the pit, pyros go off, the whole bit. And then the script calls for him kind of resurfacing from one last hurrah,
out of the pit.
But there was a trail of sparks that came down from one of the pyros, and it landed on his costume.
So it's just like,
yeah. So it's a shower of stuff, and it came down, but one ignited and caught because it was his whole costume was this big flammable thing, right? This big giant thing that just wants to catch on fire. So the spark ignites it. He comes up. He's acting, and I'm thinking to myself, I'm in the front row. I never sit in the front row. I always try to sit like right in the center, just so I can kind of hear everything and get. Usually I go at one point
and
just to get the
whole. He watched on
whole...
Halloween night, so he has like this Superman shirt and red cape on.
And I had a red cape, and I saw in an instant that he was on fire, and I realized literally there was flame coming up off of his shoulder, and it must have been God, because I didn't even hesitate. I jumped up and went right up onto the set, and I pulled my cape off, and I just patted off the fire, and then jumped back down, and then
I enjoyed the rest of the play.
Yeah, and I put the fire out, and he continued on, and enjoyed the rest of the play.
It was so funny because I knew that was like one of my scariest things is like, what if someone catches on fire? So I'm always like, during that part, I'm like in the wings. I know where the fire extinguisher is. I'm just ready to go, right? And I almost went. Like, if he didn't go, I was ready to just go or whatever. But he did it, and he was just patting, and then he went back down. And I was like, oh my goodness.
Thank you, Superman.
And you guys continued on with the play.
Yeah.
Like
Yeah,
nothing
show
happened.
must go on.
The show must go
must go on.
Okay. Okay, that's how serious it is. I didn't even know. Oh my gosh, that's wild. Huh.
Yeah, it's crazy.
I think like the worst thing that's ever happened to me in a play was that I just got a bruise on my leg, and that's it. That's like my only mishap.
And I think Eden like was special for us in that so many things happened. So Mikey's aunt played a part. It's like her first time being able to be a part of VH. She's always come to VH for years and years and years and years, and so
I've
she
got
tried
to
out.
watch Eden.
Yeah, and she her first performance, I think, or first or second performance, she fell because they get in a fight. We're always doing fights and stuff. She fell, even though she wasn't involved in the fight. She just got tangled up in it and broke her wrist.
Broke her wrist?
Broke her wrist, and so, like, she dies shortly after that.
Oh
anyway,
my.
but I think they shoot her or something. But so she had to play the rest of that, the part she was in with broken wrist, and then she was out the rest of the performances. But that was the year we had 2 casts. So,
Wow.
man. Well, did we have 2 casts, or did we just replace her with someone? But that character had 2 people, Maureen and her.
Okay, right.
Yeah.
Oh, it was
Wow.
just.
Hashtag
Oh yeah, and that
memories.
same play.
Same play.
What was his name? Taylor. Was another person from another church that tried out, and he concussed himself.
What?
Like he fell, hit his head on something. Because there's one point where he grabs a gun and he's like trying to shoot someone, and then, but in the ruckus, I think he fell, concussed himself. So we had to give him a few days off, and then JB had to be his character and Taylor's character.
Guys, I swear we are safe. We're really safe. We're just talking about the previous mishaps, okay? So just a reminder, okay? Just to stay safe out there. But also, we are safe. I swear. I swear. Another thing that I wanted to kind of jump on a little bit was, you said that you're a writer. You said that you were kind of a builder, set builder. What inspired you to be a writer, and what inspired you to start building sets for movie sets? It doesn't have to be like just for, virtual hell, but like also for just out there in general.
Why don't you start, John?
I think so. I like writing in general. I've always liked writing since I can remember. But I remember the first play I helped write was in like the 4th grade.
Oh,
I helped my teacher
so yeah.
write a play, and then or maybe it was the 5th grade, and then in the 6th grade, even though I wasn't in her class anymore because I moved up, she helped me write a complete play for her. So, yeah, even at a young age, I really liked writing. I loved drama, even though I was never like in drama in school. I think in junior high I had a drama class, but yeah. And when Brother Butler said, "Hey, can you do this?" it was like it reignited something that was born in me when I was just a youth.
Were you ever a thespian?
I don't think so. Not really. Like in junior high, well, in elementary school, I was like bit parts that would steal the show type of thing because it was so funny. Like I remember I was like this donkey in a play, and I was just there to be a donkey. But then like someone comes, there's like a prospector owned me or whatever, and they come with a gun to rob the prospector, and then I went, oh man, I went with my hands like this, and it brought down the house type of thing because I was just the donkey, and so I went like that. Another time I was the Christmas tree.
The memories are
play,
coming back in.
And I was like, my head was the star and my body was the tree. It was just paper. And I don't know, for whatever reason, I walk out there, everyone's rolling on the floor. So I think I was just made for this. But yeah, I love writing. It's in my blood.
Set building.
Set building. I guess just I was always creative as a kid. I was always building forts in my backyard. Literally, just I can't even tell you how many forts I've built in the backyard. And then they turned into theme forts, which then turned into theme play. And then I'd create the costumes for all my friends, and then we would have these battles and sword fights or army, and and it just went on from there. And then I would just build models, or I'd build life-size things, and it turned out to be. Then I would go to Universal Studios in Disneyland, and I was so just intrigued by Disneyland for how beautiful and artistic everything was, and then how to apply all that was the training of Universal Studios. So I would ride the tram and I'd say, I'm going to do this when I get older. And then things moved in such a way that I was able to get into the movie industry. And then I did that for a number of years. And then I started coming to church. And then I already kind of gave my story that these guys approached me and I was all in. I'm like, are you kidding me? Get to build sets for God? I mean, there's like,
Yeah.
I died and went to heaven.
Double whammy.
Yeah,
But you
great.
also did like Halloween stuff too.
Oh, well, I would dress up the house, and it's funny because it's like the first virtual hell. It's when I'm 12 years old or whatever. There's a gallows and a graveyard, and the silly blue lights in the trees, and then you'd paint out the windows to make them look like they're cracked, and then take cardboard and put them up like they're boarded up, and then put on all the makeup and hide in the bushes and scare the kids. I mean, that was just like the funnest thing ever. So it morphed into virtual hell from there. But I mean, like so many other, I would also do Kiss concerts and things, and get all dressed up, all my friends and I, and we almost made the news one time because the everything was just so overdone. Like we just went nuts. So that there's a carryover there as well for all the VHs. Like I just can't, I can't settle for this, It's like, it's months of preparation, but the actual physical work, because it's so time consuming, you create a vacuum, it's going to be filled. So these are productions that should take 6 months, but nobody has the time for that. So we prepare as much as we can, and then we know we're going to destroy everything. The church is going to go upside down. People are going to get absorbed in this. And so all we can really throw at it is like about a month or so of physical building, and everybody's like, well, how come you don't spend more? We just can't. We have families and jobs and this and that, and so we just try to just knock it out of the park in about 4 short weeks.
Yeah.
Wow.
That's about how it goes.
And it does take a toll on everyone involved. Everyone's exhausted afterward, and right then it's right after that is the holiday season. So there is a cost along with it.
But it's for Jesus. So it's okay.
For Jesus.
This is the last question, and I asked this question in the last podcast. If you were able to give your 18-year-old self a piece of advice, and specifically 18, what would that be?
That's a good question. I would just tell myself to stay open to whatever God has for you. I think that's what I've done. So just to make sure, hey John,
just
you're on the right path. You have the right attitude. Just pour yourself into it. But I would also tell myself to try to be a little bit more balanced. See because sometimes I hyper focus, and so I'm giving all of my time to this one thing, and then other things can sort of fade away in my vision. But when you have a family, you have a wife, and you have kids, you can't do that, right? And it took me a little while to learn that little bit. So I would tell my 18-year-old to definitely say, your heart's in the right place, but just try to be balanced and remember your priorities.
That's a really tough question. At 18, my life was such a contrast to where I live now. Opposite ends of the spectrum. If I would to listen, or if I could listen to myself, I would tell myself, you're going in the wrong direction. You really don't want to go this route. If I could tell myself God is the answer, I would say that God is the answer. So go get involved with, you know, a good church. And this is my good church that I've been here for the past quarter century. Jesus name, apostolic, you know, tongue talking, Bible thumping, you know, let's get into that works. Sort of thing.
And proud.
Yeah. Let's get into that, Eric, at 18. And you know, that's where you want to be. That's where you want your trajectory to take you. That's where you want to go. Leave all this other stuff behind because there's just nothing there. It's just pain and heartache and, you know, and which it was a lot of detours, but God finally had his way with me. And I just wish that I could have just at 18 started off here, you know.
To God be the glory.
Right?
Yeah.
Amen.
I love it. Well, that is the end of our podcast, guys. Well, we thank you so much for joining us, guys. Go, if you're on YouTube, like, subscribe, and hit that notification bell so you can get more views on the podcast or live streams or anything else that's going on. If you want to know what's going on, go to ipchurch.org or follow us on Instagram at ipchurch. We love and appreciate you guys. See you next time.